Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again here with, I think this might be part 4, 3 or 4 of my reaction to former 22SAS operator Sean, who was hit by a Russian tank round and survived. He's been in the middle of the last couple of reactions, sharing some pretty chaotic and hectic details of some action that he has been a part of and was leading in Ukraine, and he's still in that moment right now, so we'll jump back into this.
We go back. I think that's when Ned took a round through the shoulder. Yeah, he was in a pretty bad way. He actually jumped on top of me when one of the grenades was thrown, which I told him off for. But it got kind of bad, so we pulled back. We then get the call, man down. So I'm like, fuck. Looking at the state of everybody, I was like, if somebody is man down now, they're going to be properly hurt. So I start running back down the row of guys, get to Joe, who also didn't make the end of the day. Get to Joe. I was like, Joe, who's the man down? He's like, I have no idea, buddy. At that moment, everybody comes spilling out of the house. I'm like, right, what's happening? Grab the ex-SFSG lad, and I'm like, what's happening? He was like, lads are done, everybody's pulling out. So I'm like, okay, right, you lead them back to the friendly checkpoint, give me a last man call. Ned refused to leave, so he was pretty chewed up. He had grenade frag in his back and was shot through one shoulder. He refused to go, so me and him kind of left last. We start moving back the same way that we came in, straight down the rail tracks. By this stage, you know, the Russians had drones all over us. You couldn't hiccup or blink without being pummeled by God knows what. We were getting shot at by from odd directions. We were getting shot at by tanks. There was kind of a lot going on. We start moving back down this rail track, and the Ukrainian major and his captain start arguing over a radio. So I'm like down on one knee. In the end, I had to ask Ned. I was like, Ned, what are they doing? So Ned walks up. What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. Has a quick chat with him, turns around, looks me right in the eyes, and he goes, they still got guys back there? I was like, oh, you're joking. Okay. We look at each other, and I'm like, we got to go back. So I thought it was 4 guys. It ended up being 5. Turn back and head back into the Russian onslaught, if you would. I think we got probably about 3.
Man, sorry to cut him off, but just the mentality of this guy and Ned, the heart, the courage that takes to turn around and go back after just being chewed up the way that it sounds like they have been. And yeah, there's, you know, some people that just will never understand or won't be able to comprehend why would you do that. And I don't pretend to know why Sean and Ned choose to go back, but I'd hazard a pretty good guess in terms of, you know, not wanting to leave anybody behind, as cliche as that may sound. You know, they're going in there, they want to help the people. The whole reason he's gone over there to the Ukraine is because he believes in the cause and what they're trying to do to fight for their freedoms, their rights, and, you know, and stop those things from being oppressed by another country who's trying to take over things. And there's something powerful in that. And when you're hearing that there's still people back there, and I'm not surprised Sean and this guy Ned, who jumped on the grenade and he got told off by Sean for doing that. Yeah, just incredible. Massive respect.
100 meters into that journey, and 2 guys came blundering through the strip woods. We grab them over. One of them was really bleeding wasn't holding a weapon, was really bleeding out of his arm. So grabbed him by the collar and I was like, "Are you good?" And he was like, "Yes." I'm like, "Right, fucking go, get out." So we get the wounded sort of off the X, start moving back down the rail track. You can hear a lot of movement sort of either side. A lot of vehicles, a lot of mortars and artillery, all the way back down the train track. You could see the friendly checkpoint getting explosion after explosion, sort of everything kind of launched on it. And I was like, holy shit, that's the safe place where we're going. We get right up to it. To explain, the rail track was dead straight and it went on pretty much out of eyesight. So it was a dead straight rail track. There was an overpass over it, and I think the Ukis had kind of blown both sides, dropped it onto the rail track, and then built a bunker in one side of it. That was the friendly checkpoint. We got up to that kind of bunker bit. And the Ukrainian major refused to kind of move any further forward. He just took a knee and wouldn't get up. And in the end, I was starting to get the hump with this because my back was kind of open to the Russians. And I'm like, what is he doing? So Ned walks up to him, has a quick spiel, and then I'm
just listening to this thinking, Ned is he's got all the frag in his back. He's shot through the shoulder, whichever shoulder it is. He's bleeding. He's also clearly the interpreter as well. And he's just back and forth speaking with these leaders, trying to find out what's going on and then getting this information. Geez, sounds like a good dude. I don't know if he is, but he bloody sounds like, anybody who's going to refuse to leave, jump on a grenade to look out for their mates, and be doing what he's been doing. It says a lot about this fella, Ned.
Just see Ned raise his rifle and he said, "If you don't get up and walk over that berm, I will shoot you where you sit." So I was kind of like, the Ukrainian major had a bit of a fit over that, gets up and pushes over. When we get over the other side of the berm, I could see why he was so reluctant to kind of go. So the other side of the berm was pure carnage. Guys getting tourniqueted, wounded. And it was a bit of a mess. You could hear in people's voices, everybody's voices had kind of gone up a couple of octaves, and you're like, I think the stress of the day is starting to get to lads. So I'll take kind of center stage. So got in the middle, start kind of organizing people and everything. And that was when the first tank round blew me clean off my feet. T-72, main armament round, 125 mil, bang, blew me clean off my feet. I kind of get back up, expecting to see sort of a bit of a mess. Realised, still got gun, still got a helmet, still got both boots on, and all four limbs, and you've got a job to do. So kind of retook my place, controlled everything. And then after that, there was a big explosion, and that's when Ned ended up losing his leg. So I was like, right, that's all the control onto me now. Run over to Ned. He was in a bit of a mess. I was like, right, let's get him down the hill. So we pick him up, start kind of dragging him down the hill. Part of his leg had a bit of a bone stuck out of it. That actually got stuck on a tree branch. We tried to kind of pull him.
Oh, all right. That makes me cringe and hurt just thinking about that. Part of his bone sticking out of his leg that's been blown off. Now it's caught. Just bloody hell, poor fella, man.
Off. We ended up having to pull him back and then go around it. Got him in the back of the vehicle. pulled his head over, gave him a kiss, whispered something in his ear, said to the driver, right, get him out of here. He never managed to get him out of here. There was a load more artillery and mortars, a load more wounded, and I'm like, right, okay, take centre stage again. Sort of try and control everything, try and lower everyone's sort of stress level. And that's when the second tank round pretty much landed right in between my legs. It blew the inside off both my legs, and the back off my right one. I remember looking down at the tattered mess that used to be my lower body and thinking, shit, you're in a bit of a bad way there. I remember shouting over to Ned.
There's that humour, that some of that dark humour that it might get referred to as. It doesn't sound dark humour to me here. It's just him looking at the situation, it sounds like, and just being realistic around what he's seeing. But reminds me of, fellas like Big Phil Campion and the giggles and the laughs that they have and have had during some fairly not very pleasant times. And this sounds like one of those times that isn't very pleasant. It's chaotic, it's hectic. People are and hurt and sprawled out everywhere. People have lost limbs already, bones sticking out, getting hooked up, caught, unable to get extracted out of the area. And now this has happened to him, whilst he's trying to maintain some sort of command and control to, like you said, ease everybody's tensions and concerns and try to, maintain a level of calmness, which is, that's crazy, man.
Pointing down, and he's like, yep, gave me the thumbs up.
That's after you got hit. You remember him just giving you a thumbs up?
Yeah. Like we're both in the same game now. But there it was. I don't really remember much after that. All I can remember is by lads that kind of survived. They said they were kind of screaming at me to kind of get in a trench. So I think I got up, went to walk towards the trench, got to the lip of the trench and heard another round coming in. Took a knee, and the round actually landed in the trench. Killed Si, killed Joe, killed George, wounded Bruce, and that was your lot. It also knocked 4 square inches out of my forehead and made me look dead. So from all the accounts that were there, Brucey tried to drag me in the trench, and just got told, no, he's dead. Fucking leave him. He severed an artery in his arm, kind of got tourniqueted, dragged off. And I think because I was sort of held up, I just slumped in place. Kevlar managed to hold me up. But I had blood, brains and everything kind of streaming down my face and was completely incoherent. So I think I was the last foreigner to leave that position. So eventually I think I made a noise or did something, and someone realised, fuck, he's still in the game, threw me in the back of a truck, drove me to a field hospital where I believe they managed to save my legs. 1, 2, yep, yeah, they did. So they managed to save my legs. Realised that they didn't have enough neuro kind of experience to sort my my head out. So I got kind of bussed further north. Yeah, kind of nuts though. Kind of nuts.
Kind of nuts is an understatement. Holy heck, man. The scene that must have left for the guys, I forget the name of the guy who he said tried to drag him into the trench and then got told to leave him because he was dead. The scene that he must have, what he must have looked like is what I'm getting at. Skull and brains and just slumped over. Man, it is crazy. massive respect. Kudos to the field hospital team that saved the legs, and then clearly must have done enough based on whatever knowledge, skill that they had to preserve what they could, as they then shipped them off further up the road to get higher medical treatment from a neurological perspective. Man, kind of nuts. It's very very humble, but very sort of nonchalant about it. And this seems like and sounds like a heck of a lot of time there where he needed to, or he felt that he needed to step up and take the lead. And things likely would have been a heck of a lot different had he not chosen to do that, given the carnage and the situation of what they were seeing. Just incredible too, though, a testament to the training that he would have received, his own personal mentality and will and drive, and no doubt his actions would have inspired many of those people in that team. Tragic with the amount of lives lost from his team and the people that he's named and gone through. But man, it's here. It's captivating, man. I don't know what else to say.
4 months in hospital, that cost me 4 months. But yeah, that was my last. Yeah, that was the last time I kind of set foot on Ukrainian soil. So that was
4 months. After all of that, the legs, the skull, the brains. I'm listening to that going, only 4 months. I would have thought he'd been in for like a year or something or longer to be at the stage that he's at now. 4 months, man. Just shows how hearty this fella must be, not only mentally, but just physically. Like I think I mentioned, one of the first reactions, guy looks like a bloody unit anyway, as is right now. And imagine having that coming after you. Yeah. 4 months. That sounds like bugger all.
Do you remember, do you remember being in the hospital? Do you remember getting carted out, or you're just drugged up and in a haze? What's the first thing you remember, like waking up, I guess?
So, my wife actually came all the way forward to Dnipro and met me in the hospital in Dnipro. So I don't really remember much of that. I kind of remember possibly Kyiv, because I went, field hospital, then to Dnipro, then up to Kyiv, and then from Kyiv I went elsewhere. But yeah, Kyiv, I kind of have sort of hazy memories. Yeah.
And then through pure fear of your wife beating you is what kept you alive, basically. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And do you remember,
the wives have a hard lot, eh? The partners, the spouses. Can't imagine what would have been going through her mind, her whole being, just physically, emotionally, mentally. They carry a heck of a lot of weight and a heck of a lot of burden with regards to what their partners go through, what their partners are doing. And they willingly do that. And she must be an incredible woman, and makes me smile, makes me happy also when the host said that through fear of being beaten by his wife, that's what drove him and kept him alive. It's yeah, that's cool. I'm glad he's still here. She must have a story to tell, man.
We've all, we've seen some of the pictures of your Kevlar after the fact. You kind of mentioned it a little bit. Do you know, like how much?
I wish they showed I wish they had some pop-up images of, this of his Kevlar and all that sort of stuff after.
How much brain can a human man lose and still be functional as he is today?
Yeah.
Do you recall on what that might have been?
Well, it was the 4 square inches of skull that actually got knocked out. They rebuilt with, I think it was a titanium plate. put an infection.
Imagine getting hit. Oh, I think he's about to say that put an infection. Sorry to cut him off. Imagine getting head butted by him now with a titanium plate in there. If you thought it was going to be bad before and he just had a skull, titanium plate's going to be 1,000,000 times worse. Well, who knows? His skull bloody was strong enough to withstand the tank round that went through there. So, man,
In my skull that took 4 months of antibiotics to get rid of. They then replaced it. Put me a new chunk of skull in. Yeah, it was kind of weird. So I can remember rough bits of the hospital. I remember being stuck in London for weeks and weeks and weeks. Yeah, it's kind of wild. But
so you were from the front lines, Dnipro, Kyiv, and then what was the journey back home, I guess, in recovery from Kyiv from there?
So I went back to a hospital somewhere else, stayed there for a few days, got fed my first solid food in that place and promptly threw it up everywhere. Eventually got put on an aircraft, flown back home to a ward in London. So yeah, kind of stayed in a ward in London, and then they eventually kind of packaged me back off home. But
like anything, when you see doctors, they always give you crazy prognosis. I'm sure with your brain, and they were talking about still possibly not even keeping your legs, right?
Yeah.
Throughout this whole time. So what were they telling you, or what were they telling your wife? Kind of outlook.
So okay, so what's next? And she kind of asked that quite often, and the docs were all like, "We don't know. There is no wound profile for somebody like this. He should have lost his legs. He should be dead." So she was like, "Holy shit!" Do you know what I mean? That was a kind of wake up call for her. But yeah, it was a weird experience.
So that experimental 2-pair program is still paying off to this day that you can't talk about.
Yeah. Yep.
That's right. I remember him talking about that near the start. It was a bit of an experiment with regards to the power regiment and his journey into there. And I think putting them with the adults based on the age that he was at the time, I think from memory.
Kind of nuts though, but there you go.
Yeah, and then everything seems pretty decent now. You still have an open wound in your leg?
Yeah, still got a little open wound, just about the size of a quarter, just on the inside of that thigh. But so out of that leg, I kind of get the feeling that however I knelt down, however it was, that was a through and through. So it's kind of blown the back off this thigh and the inside off there. Looking at it, I think that was a through and through piece of shrapnel. And then this leg, there's a fair chunk of kind of leg missing from there. Out of that one, I actually lost my adductor. So yeah, that's gone. But
so T-72s ain't shit, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, weird old day. And the lads in the basement, by all accounts, I think it was maybe the night after or a couple of nights after, they made a break for it. I think one of them was shot and recaptured. One of them did actually make it and escape properly. But yeah, kind of nuts. That kind of nuts.
Were you or Ned or anybody really able to get with those commanders afterwards to see kind of like what was the AAR, their after action, what they thought of everything went down, why it went the way it did, anything like that?
No. So we were, the both of us were in a bit of a drug-addled stupor for months afterwards. But yeah, kind of nuts. Do you know the weird thing is? never felt any pain from my legs, never felt any pain from my head. So I was kind of pretty much out of it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the pain was left for Ned and his open wound leg stuck on a tree branch getting dragged. That's what you saved it for.
Yeah.
That's why he gave you the thumbs up. He knew. He's like, oh, yeah, this one's for you.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. From there afterwards, like we talked about before, you've just a shitload of experience, combat all over the place type of thing. What's the big difference for you? Like we talked before, this is just this extremely brutal war, and people they told that to me when I first showed up in Ukraine. They said this is just not the same as this, which is very true. But, like any grown man who thinks you're tough, you've seen everything, this, and that, right? Until you actually kind of see and feel that helpless feeling almost, I think, it was a first for me, helpless feeling, because I was 21, 22 in Afghanistan. You go doing what you're doing, you're like, oh, I'm in the U.S. military. I literally can't be killed. We do everything better, blah, 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 blah. And then you go start fighting in Ukraine, and pretty much what you said, there's days you run out of food. There's days you run out of water. They tell you there's tanks and artillery and mortars ready to go for you. You show up there's nothing. It's just you and your boys, but from someone with your experience, which is, vastly more than mine, and probably 99% of people who've experienced combat in their life, I guess some of the big takeaways are some of the differences between, I don't know, like I said, the brutality of Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, even some of the other stuff that you've done that you don't mention versus a war like this, I guess, and kind of some lessons learned for you and some things you might be able to, tell your own military.
Yeah. So Ukraine was very different. Probably not very different in people's kind of attitudes towards each other. There's always kind of hatred in wars, but this was the capability of your average kind of enemy unit, which ranged from pretty much illiterate guys just kind of thrown into a uniform, shown the pointy end of an AK, and that was it, all the way to kind of tier 1 soft level, which was kind of nuts. That kind of depended on where you were, what you were sent to do. There were a number of different kind of factors involving that. And it was literally, on a night time, you could end up kind of facing people that would do certain things. In the daytime, you would end up kind of facing people that didn't know how to dress, how to kind of equip themselves, wouldn't be wearing body armor or helmets. And you were kind of like, there is a big kind of disparity here between different enemy units. But yeah, some of that was kind of a little odd to deal with. But I think probably the biggest thing that took quite a steep learning curve was the amount of artillery, air, and everything else that kind of got piled on you. So all I remember was at one stage the Ukrainians put in a 6-round cap on any mortar or artillery kind of mission. So whatever you kind of had to hit, you'd have to fight for that to get hit, and they would fire 6 rounds at it, and that was it, bust. 6 rounds was all you were getting. And on an average day, what you would get fired back was wild. So it would be 200 to 300 rounds would kind of come back the way, which took a little bit of getting used to. I think the other thing was armor as well, like having enemy armor actually kind of chase after you. Yeah, there were quite a number of things. Obviously, enemy armor can sometimes get you, but yeah, it was kind of a little bit weird. I think drones as well was something that kind of cropped up out there. Electronic warfare. There were a lot of kind of things that were very different to what we'd sort of faced previous.
Yeah, I think things like this too. Like we had anti-armor teams, right, and our line units and things like that, but it wasn't anything we actually thought of, right? You know, but when you hear anti-armored team now, it's like it's very vital. You know, don't fucking shoot your rockets at anything stupid. You know, be disciplined in what you're doing, type of thing, because it is a big difference. The difference between your squad, I mean, really I wouldn't say a full platoon. There's not many times we went out with 30 plus guys, to be honest. You know, you probably 15 to 20, but still to be able to have that capability makes a big difference. Or at least when you're shooting, you know, anti-armor, you know, it keeps them on their toes where they're like, okay, fuck, let's keep a little bit of a different distance, type of thing. You know, and same thing with the drones. And of course, our favorite parts is when you hear it overhead, you don't know if it's friendly or enemy. And you finally, you know, when you finally get comms, you're like, yeah, we don't have any drones up. We're like, oh, nice. This is going to be a good day for us. So,
yeah, it was on one of the jobs where we were on the water, and we got stoofed by grad, multiple kind of grad strikes. I got a couple of them on film, actually, and it was only in the daylight. You kind of looked up and somebody goes, there's a drone up there. And it was kind of, do we shoot, do we not? And the 50 cal gunner had a go at it on our boat. And in the end, I was like, so I fired a mag. Everybody else fired a mag. People were reloading and firing at it. And it turns out that was actually one of our drones. So, yeah, kind of nuts. But
yeah, but I mean, that's honestly, that's the classic story, because we're going to lose a Mavic 2 or something like that, right? You know, they get those dime a dozen, but also that's the communications issue too. You know, if they would just say, yeah, we got drones up, then we know. That makes our job a little bit easier. But I think just communication, not even on a small level, it's just, I think, kind of like a battalion level asset where it's like, yep, we got drones, pop, 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 pop. But just the way their military is set up, you know, they don't tell you shit. They don't tell you what they got. They don't tell you where it's at. They don't tell you where people are at. And that's why you end up with, you know, unfortunately, a lot of fratricide in wars like this. That, and people are super skittish too, because, you know, you don't know. It's a little different than, you know, not as bad as Taliban fighting. They're wearing civilian clothes, but, you know, still it's, you just don't know what's happening at almost any moment, you know, just from communication. But yeah, well, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up from there, and then, that'll be it for us.
Man, there's there's more to this interview, to this story. Here's somebody, if ever you were going to sit and go through or chunk up a 6, 7, 8 hour plus interview, this guy's story would be one of those. You know, I think of the Sean Ryan interviews and just the time that he gives, or the time that they're both giving, the guest that he's interviewing, and the time that Sean invests and puts into it, and allowing the person to share their story, and just the interjection with questions at different times during their retelling of the experiences that they've had. There's a power in that, and I think there's a heck of a lot more than 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 46 seconds to this guy Sean's story, which is just incredible. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just amazing, incredible, and awesome that he's alive. Sad that lots of people have lost their lives, but that's the nature of war. Appreciate your time, man, if you made it here this far. Anybody that knows him, man, drop in the comments. Those that might have served with him, feel free to drop some words and comments in below. It'd be awesome to hear, but it'd be great to see him on another interview, having more time to share his story. But anyway, appreciate your time and support as always. And again, with that being said, the message is the same. Anybody going through any dark times, difficulties, challenges, keep turning up, keep staying in the fight, man. Just put one foot in front of the other. Here's a testament of a guy, like, heck, how many more challenges can you have in an operation or in an experience, and still come out the other side, still fighting, doing whatever it is that you can, that we can, to keep turning up for the next day. So anyway, as always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, there's a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.